What is going on, guys? We are back for another episode of Pokemon Top 5s. This week we'll be covering the ground typing. For me, this is typing that's always been known as a high physical attack and high physical defense. That's really what I look for when I look for a good ground type, but this week we have a lot of really exciting Pokemon coming up, and I'm super excited for this list. So, of course, as always, guys, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. As well, leave your top 5 down below in the comment section down below. Just a quick disclaimer, we don't use legendaries on this list. I do plan on doing a separate video for legendaries specifically, so that's the reason for that. Also, you know, everything is opinionated. This isn't a definitive, these are the top 5 ground types in Pokemon. These are my favorites based off of design, just the way that I use them in game and the fun that I have with them. So it's not a combination of that. I mean, it competitively could be a factor, but you know, of course, my list is always subject to change. So without further ado, let us hop into number 5. Alright, so coming in number 5, we have Flygon, the Sand Dragon Mystic Pokemon. So this Pokemon is not the greatest competitively, first and foremost, but it is a wicked design, and I kind of just like the idea of what I envision it, like in the wild kind of deal, right? Like the big-ass dragonfly, and it's kind of known as a desert spirit, right? So it can do a lot of really cool things, has 100 base attack and 100 base speed, with Dragon Dance. And so this Pokemon very quickly can become a threat. If allowed to set up. The only problem is that it has a massive weak to ice, and a big weakness to obviously fairy and dragon as well, right? So there is some inherent problems, but it does get Dragon Dance, which, like I said before, it gets all the elemental punches, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Iron Tail. It does get some good coverage moves, but really this thing is kind of just a low tier competitive Pokemon that does have the ability to sweep. But it is really just a Pokemon that you use just because you like it, right? So, without further ado, let us hop in to number 4. Alright, guys, coming in at number 4, we have Marowak, the Bone Keeper Pokemon. This was one of my favorite ground types for the longest time. Generation 1, 2, and 3, really. Marowak was my favorite ground type, and it's kind of been replaced since then, but obviously this Pokemon, Rock Head, Lightning Rod, very, very good, useful typings, or useful abilities, right? So Rock Head takes away any kind of residual damage from moves like Double Edge or Takedown, things like that nature. So you can just go with like a Skull Bash or like a Double Edge, and you have no problem going with a really, really strong normal type move. The problem was that always in the earlier generations that Marowak just never got any good moves. Bone Meringue was kind of like your main ground type move, which just happened to do more damage from. Basically, it was like Bone Meringue or Earthquake. That was your choice. And then sometimes you'd run Stone Edge or Rock Tomb with like Swords Dance knockoff kind of deal, but knockoff was special for a super long time. So it's only recently gotten that buff. But the really cool thing about Marowak is that even though it doesn't really have a really fantastic attack stat, it's only 80. Its real thing is that when it gets the Thick Club, which is a specific item for Marowak, it doubles your attack stat, meaning that you actually have like a 160 attack Pokemon with 110 defense. So you know, you can do a lot of damage with that, and even though in the newer games, you know, it got some love with an Alolan form, which is also super dope, but the OG Marowak for me had to stay on the list, and it had to be number 4. So without further ado, let us hop in to number 3. Alright, so number 3, you have Gliscor, the Fang, Scorpion, Vampire, whatever you want to call it, Pokemon. This is actually a super cool one. It actually can't fly, like it just glides. So that's kind of something to note with the flying typing. It's really just the typing is there for thematics more than in reality. Like it doesn't really utilize its flying type without, unless it has like acrobatics or something. But The big thing with this Pokemon is that it has the unique ability Poison Heal. And what Poison Heal does is it allows you to heal yourself when you're poisoned. And so a lot of people competitively anyways will pair Gliscor with a Toxic Orb, and the Toxic will then heal it every turn, which gives it reliable recovery without having to use Roost or something. And then it can sit there and Swords Dance, Earthquake. You know, a lot of people use it as a setup Pokemon competitively as well. So it is kind of a mixture. It is really difficult to get in-game and use in-game. Its in-game move pool is not the greatest, but it is a fun Pokemon to use when you can use it. You just kind of have to understand that, like, for me anyways, like, it's not a Pokemon that I could see myself having, but it's a Pokemon that I have a ton of respect for. Its design is absolutely wicked. And to me, it had to be on the list. And competitively, it just had like a step up from basically the bottom two on the list. So, but without further ado, number 1 and 2 are going to be absolute monsters. So let's just hop right into them right now. Alright, so number 2, we have Excadrill, the subterranean Pokemon. I always think of Toph from the Avatar The Last Airbender when I think of this Pokemon. Absolutely a monster. Sand Rush and Sand Force, so both moves. This is basically like a sand team's dream, right? Sand Rush doubles your speed. It has 88 speed. It becomes the fastest weather abuser in Pokemon with that speed stat. So you understand that you're outspeeding the entire game if you have the sand up. So that's number 1. Then number 2, you have a 135 attack stat, but this thing is an absolute glass cannon, so it has to be able to kill or it dies itself. So, but Earthquake, Swords Dance, Rock Slide, Iron Head, Stealth Rock, that's really all you need, and this Pokemon's gonna just absolutely obliterate. We actually lost our, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen it already, but it was a year ago. We lost our Volt White Nuzlocke to Excadrill and Clay, so you know, the power is real on this thing, and I have a ton of respect for it competitively. Design-wise, I just really like it. It kind of really does fit what it is, and obviously from watching the Avatar, and the Avatar being one of my favorite like cartoons as a kid, Toph was one of my favorites, and obviously they showed Badger moles as the like teachers of earthbending, and so for me it was just super fitting. It kind of has like lore and another story, which is what I really like about it. So it had to be number 2 for me. Number 1 though, you know, I really went back and forth number 2 and number 1 for Excadrill, but without further ado, let us reveal number 1. Alright, so number 1, we have Krookodile, the Intimidati Pokemon. Krookodile is obviously a super dope-ass land shark. You know, between this, Feraligatr, I'm excited for what Generation 9 holds in terms of alligator Pokemon as well, but Feraligatr is, Krookodile is a monster. Intimidate, if you want to be a more defensive one, and Moxie if you want to just go for just full-out sweeping potential. You know, 95 HP, 80 defense is pretty good, and then when you pair that with Intimidate, you have a very good defensive Pokemon that's able to hit pretty hard, which is always super nice. And if you're going for that Moxie set, I mean, 92 speed and Choice Band, Choice Scarf yourself, and you just get stronger and stronger with every kill. Earthquake, Crunch, Rock Slide, that's really all you need. It does have a lot of other coverage options for you though. And obviously, I don't know what person wouldn't be super stoked to have a Krookodile on their team, but it's also a very unique typing. It's the only ground dark type in existence to this point. And so, to me, anyways, also Krookodile got a lot of love in the anime as well, just for the character that it was. Obviously, you can kind of see the main picture I have is Ash's Krookodile with the sunglasses, rocking his shades, too cool for school. But yeah, obviously Krookodile is super dope design, and competitively it's a monster. And so for me, it made it my number 1 ground type. But of course, as always guys, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you liked this list. Let me know what your top 5 is down below. and I will see you guys in the next one.